Morning everybody, how are y'all doing today? I'm doing great myself because finally after some Quantum TV spam, we're back on the Fanboy topics. And I'm not sure how long this video is going to be right now, but I'm assuming it's going to be a little longer than usual because we have a bit of a longer video from this PlayStation fanboy who regrets buying an Xbox Series X because of, who would have guessed, the exclusives and also Game Pass. That's right, Game Pass made him regret getting an Xbox. Hopefully I can make sense of it in a few minutes here. And honestly, to an extent, I do actually feel kind of bad for this guy because he only has like 2K subs, but this video has almost like 400K views. And as a result, he got completely obliterated by both the comments and the dislike ratio. And I just feel like I need to say, especially now that it's Christmas time, I have nothing against this guy. I have nothing against any of the people I talk about. It's just criticism for the sake of having some fun. And I know this video is going up on Christmas Eve, so I just want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. And real quick, I know I'm not going to keep this intro too long, but we just, at the time of recording this, passed 5,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much, and as promised, we're doing a mega giveaway. Now, you might be wondering, what is the mega giveaway? I will be giving away either a PS5, a Series X, a Series S, or a Steam Deck to anyone who comments on this video. Like previous giveaways, you don't have to say, oh, I want the console or whatever. Just comment whatever you want and you'll be entered. Once I decide the winner, I will put out a community post shouting you out with my Discord information, and then you have 24 hours from that community post to contact me. If you do not, I will re-roll the winner. But yeah, this is just my way of giving back to you guys and saying thank you all so much for 5K subs in less than a year. But anyway, with that aside, this intro has been more than long enough, so let's just go ahead and get into this video.
Alright, so as much as it surprises me and pains me to say it, I'm gonna end up selling my Xbox Series X. Now, before everybody loses their minds, I understand, I put out a video before I bought the Xbox Series S initially. Then what I ended up doing was I ended up returning it, and I ended up picking up the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, we're gonna speed through a lot of this intro, because this video is already gonna be long enough as it is, and this intro is just him, like, recapping a bunch of stuff. But just keep in mind that he got a Series S, which is an all-digital console. It's gonna come back into play in a couple minutes here.
And essentially, just in that video, I just felt that the Xbox Series X had enough features that I felt like it justified the $200 price upgrade in terms of storage, in terms of having a disk drive, you're able to do 120 Hz in 4K, the teraflops, all this stuff I think justified the price for me to have the extra $200 so that I can play any of my old Xbox games, and essentially be a genuine machine that covers all of the history of the Xbox. However, after owning the Xbox Series X for many months now, playing it, having Game Pass Ultimate, I really feel like this doesn't fit into the ecosystem of the current console generation. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, first of all, I'm starting by saying this is a fantastic console. In terms of engineering and design, I think it looks really well, it performs really well, it's very, very much optimized, okay? So it's an SSD drive, super fast, super quiet, super air efficient, gets things done really quickly. The quick resume is a testament to that. And overall, in terms of engineering, in terms of console, this is absolutely fantastic. Now, the controller that's paired with this, besides the fact that I wish it actually had rechargeable batteries that came into the package, because we are paying $500 for this thing, so having rechargeable batteries built in would have been fantastic. Other than that, the controller is amazing as well. Now,
yeah, but I think a bit of a compromise needs to be made when it comes to the controller. Because here's my thing, and I would genuinely like to hear your thoughts about the controllers with rechargeable batteries in the comments. Because trust me, I totally agree that it should come with rechargeable batteries, but I don't think it should be like the PlayStation controller. Because as far as I'm aware, you can't like take out the rechargeable battery in the PlayStation controller and just replace it with regular batteries in case the rechargeable battery goes bad or something. I do agree that the controller should come with rechargeable batteries, but they should be removable. So that way, inevitably, when you recharge the batteries a bunch and their battery life gets drained, that way you can move over to AA batteries if for some reason the batteries can't hold their charge. So yeah, I do feel like rechargeable batteries should be included, but not quite in the same way that PlayStation does it. That's just my 2 cents though.
The controller is essentially identical to what it was on the Xbox Series X, not much different there. I mean, the Xbox One X, I should say, not much different there. The UI on the system, although the UI is good, you get used to it, it's really good. Once you understand exactly how it works, you're able to do everything you need to do. The UI is the same as the Xbox One X, so it lacks a little bit in terms of innovation, but actually this is a fantastic piece of hardware. But then you may be thinking, why? If you feel like the console is that good, why are you returning it? Especially after the fact that, not well returning, I'm selling it, it's too late, I can't return it now. But especially after you bought an Xbox Series S and you upgraded it for this. And I know, I understand. It's odd, it's a little bit strange.
I mean, yeah, it definitely does. Because you already had the Series S, and then you decided to upgrade to the Series X, which, you know, fair enough, nothing wrong with upgrades. But the thing is, the Series S and the Series X are basically the same console. It's just obviously the Series S is completely digital and it's less powerful. Besides that, they play all the same games. The UI is exactly the same. Everything about them is the same at the core. So any issues that you have with your Series X, you likely would have experienced with the Series S as well. And it's just a little strange to me that it took you several months of not only a Series S, but also a Series X before you made this decision. I feel like a lot of people would have made this decision within like a week or two of getting the console. But let's go ahead and hear his reasoning.
I'm not so indecisive. I just was lucky enough to be able to get all the consoles. I own a PlayStation 5, I own a Nintendo Switch OLED model, and I do own an Xbox Series X, but I just feel like after owning it for this much time, where does this fit into the ecosystem? I don't know where it fits into the ecosystem, and to be honest, in my opinion, I think if you have the option of picking up the consoles, this might be your least preferable option. Now, why do I say this?
Before we learn why he said this, I just want to explain how exactly the Series X fits into the ecosystem. It's like the Series S, but more powerful, and it has a disk drive. It's the most powerful console on the market, so if you want raw power, then you're definitely going to want a Series X. Speaking of the power, it's more powerful than the PS5, but it's the same price. Also, Game Pass. And I know Game Pass can be the argument for a Series S as well, but it's just a nice little bonus. I'm sure you guys can come up with even more reasons for why this fits into the ecosystem, but we got to keep going.
Number 1, Game Pass Ultimate. Game Pass Ultimate is absolutely amazing. I am not a proponent for digital games. I prefer physical media. You can see that I have a collection of physical games. I prefer the physical media. That's why I wanted a disc drive. But Game Pass Ultimate is such a good deal that it makes the physical media, physical discs, the physical capability of this console sort of obsolete.
And this was the moment right here in the video when I watched this for the first time that I said, okay, yep, I'm covering this. Because the like to dislike ratio was really bad, but initially watching the video, it didn't really seem too bad or anything. And then I got to that moment right there. This man unironically just said he thinks the Series X doesn't fit into the market because Game Pass is a good deal. And you guys heard him, he said he prefers physical media. So then if you prefer physical media, why did you even get a Series S in the first place? Like, that's a genuine question. Look, I understand budget restrictions and stuff, but if you have that massive collection of physical games, why would you get an all-digital console? And then on top of that, saying that Game Pass is too good, and that's why you feel like the Series X wasn't worth it, that is some of the most backwards fanboy logic I've ever heard. And dude, it's not just Game Pass that's making physical games obsolete, it's just the digital market as a whole. But it's not like Microsoft is forcing you to get a Game Pass subscription. And even if they were, like you just said, it's a great deal. And even then, you can still use physical games on the Series X, which is something you can't do on the Series S. So if anything, you should be advocating for why the Series X is a better choice than the Series S. And again, even if Game Pass is such a good deal, you can still use your physical media because it has a disc drive. I just can't get over the fact that we've reached the point where people are saying the Xbox isn't worth it because it has a good subscription service and because it has good deals. What's next? Are people gonna say that the Xbox isn't worth it because it can play video games?
Now you have the new Madden coming out on it, Halo Infinite launched on it, Forza Motorsport launched on it. So essentially any decent exclusive Xbox game, which you can pretty much only play on a Microsoft. It's a Microsoft exclusive. If you have a PC powerful enough, you can play all these things on PC. But in terms of the console space, anything that's exclusive is being included on Game Pass. I ended up getting the actual physical copy of Halo Infinite because I wanted the Steelbook. Again, I prefer physical media. But then the disc was pretty much useless. I played Halo Infinite exclusively, and I still play Halo Infinite exclusively through Game Pass. there's absolutely no need to own it.
But here's what I'm failing to understand. Why is it a bad thing that you have more options and you can get games for way cheaper? Why does that make the Xbox not fit into the market? I genuinely don't understand it. If you buy the physical version of Halo Infinite and you want to use the physical disc, then use it. Nobody's forcing you to download it from Game Pass. But if you knew you were going to get it through Game Pass and you felt like you wasted your money because you wanted the physical version for the Steelbook, that's on you. Microsoft isn't forcing you to do anything. They're giving you more options, and you're complaining about that, saying it's a negative thing. I genuinely don't understand it. I'm sorry, I've repeated that a bunch now, but I really don't. If, say, you could only get Halo Infinite in Game Pass, and then you had to buy, like, a physical disc or whatever for the book, but then the physical disc didn't actually do anything, it was just for decoration, then that would be something worth complaining about. But you're basically complaining here that you have options. And guess what? If you had your Series S still, that physical version of Halo Infinite would have been even more worthless, because at least you can use the disc version of the game on the Series X if you want to. You can't do that on the Series S.
I only own 2 Xbox games, and that's the Master Chief Collection and Rise Son of Rome. If you remember, that was like a launch title, which I think really should have a sequel, but it doesn't. But those are the only games that I own. Now, I have a small collection of Xbox games, and when I had the Xbox Series X, I really thought that, you know what, I'm gonna play some of the older games. I ended up not really playing much of the older games. The games are optimized. It's awesome that this thing is backwards compatible straight out of the box, and that's probably the only reason I can really think of actually owning an Xbox Series X. If you really are that diehard and passionate about playing the old Xbox games, this is an all-in-one package where you can play anything Xbox. But other than that, this really doesn't offer anything too different.
My dude, you literally just said all it can do is it can play all the new Xbox games and all your old ones as well, and all the old ones are optimized, but besides that, you know, it's not really worth it. If you wanted to play the old Xbox games and therefore bought an Xbox Series X and then afterwards decided, you know what, I actually don't want to play the old games, that's not a negative for the console. That's just you making a bad purchase. It is not a negative thing for the console that it can play the old games completely optimized for the new hardware. But to say that the only reason you should get a Series X is to play the old backwards compatible games, that's just a complete lie. Again, it's the most powerful console on the market right now, so any game that comes out, it's going to play the best out of all the consoles, whether it be multi-platform or Microsoft first party. On top of that, when it comes to your backwards compatible games, they don't charge you a $10 upgrade fee to get the enhanced version. PlayStation does do that. So to say that backwards compatibility is the only reason to get a Series X when games run better on it for the same price as the PS5, that's just extremely disingenuous. And I just gotta ask as well, why did you get a Series X and then have it for months if you never ended up playing any of the backwards compatible games, which was your whole reason for getting one?
Now, in terms of AAA games, the games run fantastic here, but they also run fantastic on the PlayStation 5. I still think that honestly this is built better than a PlayStation 5. This feels more rugged. This feels, the design is better. I actually prefer this type of design. It's quieter. The quick resume feature is fantastic. But in terms of AAA games, you can just play them on PlayStation 5.
Yeah, but the PS5 is the same price and less powerful. Any AAA games are going to run and look better on the Series X. On top of that, you have all the benefits you just listed, like Game Pass and backwards compatibility with no need to pay for upgraded games. And I understand there's a PS5 digital for $400, which is a fair argument. But again, there's no Game Pass on the PS5. They charge you for upgrades. And it's also way harder to come across a PS5 right now than a Series X. And I know you guys were waiting for it. Here we go. He's about to get into his little exclusives rant. God, I always love these.
Then on top of that, in terms of exclusive games, Microsoft really doesn't have much. It hasn't had much even in the last generation. So I don't really foresee some huge advantage of some kind of exclusive Microsoft game that's going to be exclusive to the console, that's going to be a game changer. At this point, that might happen. It really can. But at this point, there really isn't that. And then you might as well have a PlayStation, because PlayStation actually banks off of their exclusives. That's one of the things that they push, is their exclusive games. Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, so many other exclusive games, Last of Us.
Obviously, yes, Microsoft's first-party output this year was pathetic because there was none. Also, there are a bunch of great first-party Xbox games out already, like Forza. The Halo Infinite campaign is actually pretty good, despite the multiplayer being kind of trash. Sea of Thieves is absolute fire. And look, people love to make the argument, oh, well, those games are on PC as well. Okay, and that doesn't devalue the console. Not everybody can afford a PC, and not everybody wants to play on a PC. In which case, Xbox is your best bet for playing these games. And also, PlayStation is putting a ton of their games on PC now. In fact, the only game he just listed that isn't on PC is Ghost of Tsushima, but we all know that's coming. But why should people buy a console because the console banks off of exclusives? Like I already said, PlayStation is already porting a ton of their games to PC, and it's not gonna stop. So this is kind of an empty argument in all honesty. And I just don't get the argument. Like, why is it a benefit for a console that it has exclusives? Because the argument he's making here is that because the PlayStation has exclusives, you should buy that instead. But again, that's just an invalid argument because they put their games on PC. And also, Xbox is gonna have a really nice first-party lineup next year. And I just hate the exclusives argument so much because PC gaming just defeats the argument. The PC hardly has any exclusive games whatsoever, yet it's the most used platform out of all of them. And do you want to know why? It's because exclusives aren't everything. Not everyone is gonna buy a console just for the exclusives. Because if that was the case, everybody would be on PlayStation. But they're not. PC still has the most users by far because of pricing, accessibility, customization and freedom, power. You know, the stuff that really matters the most. I need to be clear, I'm not saying exclusives don't matter at all, but they really don't matter as much as the fanboys like to make it seem they do.
So many other fantastic exclusive games that come out on the PlayStation console. So you might as well have a PlayStation 5. Because then you can still enjoy the AAA games, and you can enjoy the exclusives. Now, what if you want like a secondary console? In order to play anything Nintendo, you have to own a Nintendo Switch. So if you're able to have two consoles, you might as well have a PlayStation 5, and you might as well have a Nintendo Switch. I don't know where this really fits in. Now, let's say that you really do enjoy some of the Microsoft exclusives. Game Pass Ultimate, like I said, it's a fantastic deal.
Wait a minute, I thought you just said that Xbox didn't have any exclusives, and now you're saying they do. So you just invalidated your own point. Again, I'm not saying that exclusives are the most important thing, but he was, and now he just said that Microsoft has exclusives as well. So I guess by your own logic, dude, it's perfectly okay for people to get an Xbox, because you can enjoy those exclusives and those third-party games. And a bunch of the third-party games, like you said earlier, are gonna be on Game Pass, which is not on PlayStation. But this kind of ties back into what I was saying earlier about the PlayStation not being in stock as much as the Xbox. Because think about it this way, we saw a few times throughout this year that even in PlayStation's home country, which was Japan, the Xbox outsold it at one point, which further proves my argument that exclusives don't matter as much as the other factors that I've mentioned previously. In PlayStation's own home country, people were buying more Xboxes than PlayStations because guess what? The majority of people buying consoles do so for the third-party games. The exclusives are just a nice cherry on top.
In that situation, why not pick up an Xbox Series S? Now, I owned both, and although I felt when I had the Xbox Series S, $200 justified all the extra features, I didn't really enjoy any of the extra features. And as Game Pass Ultimate keeps getting better and better, now that Microsoft has acquired Activision Blizzard, and now we can have even more games added to Game Pass, and Game Pass becomes an even better value, now you can just, all of that is digital anyway.
Why not pick up a Series S? Well, because it's all digital and it's less powerful. It's still a great console, but the Series X is objectively better in every single way. And if people can afford the extra $200, then why not? And again, I love how he's trying to say that the Series X isn't worth it because Game Pass is a good deal. The 200 extra bucks on the Series X are not just because of the disk drive. Again, it's because of the power. So if people want to play those games on Game Pass in their best form possible, then they're gonna have to go for a Series X. It's not like you can't get digital games on the Series X. It's just that you also get the option of using physical.
All those games, although you're paying a subscription, you don't own them. You're renting them digitally. So at that point, the disk drive doesn't even matter. And honestly, the fact that you have a library like Game Pass Ultimate, it allows you to experiment and play all these different types of games. And that's what's been happening with me. I don't have a lot of free time, but when I do, if I hear a good game is out there and people are playing it, and then I happen to see it on Game Pass, I end up giving it a try because I have nothing to lose at that point. So most of the time, I'm playing digital games on this console.
Yes, and you're doing so in a better form than the Series S can provide, which is where the appeal comes in. More power equals better performance equals more enjoyable gaming experience.
Now, what about some of the backwards compatible games, which like I said, that's the one reason why I would think that you should keep this console? A lot of those games end up going on sale. So you can actually get digital copies of older Xbox games for really cheap, and then you can store them on your device. So now I'm starting to really feel that if you're really in the mood for something that's an exclusive to Microsoft, such as playing Halo and everything, you might be better off just having an Xbox Series S.
So wait a minute, now the Series X isn't worth it and you shouldn't get one because games go on sale? I am so confused. What is happening with this video? The only arguments you have made so far are must-exclusives, and you've said that you shouldn't get a Series X because Game Pass is good and games go on sale. What is going on right now? And again, yes, you could just get a Series S to do this, but if you want the best experience possible, you're gonna need a Series X.
And on top of that, the Xbox Series S, you can probably get them even new at places like Costco, and people are selling their Xbox Series S's. You can get it for like $280, $275, which is actually a fantastic deal compared to $499, $500 for this device here. So now at this point, I'm starting to feel like I sort of regret returning the Xbox Series S and picking up the Xbox Series X. Although this is a fantastic console, and it's more powerful, way more powerful than the Xbox Series S, you're still able to enjoy the games because you have an SSD there, and you know that Microsoft is supporting the Series S. You know that's not going anywhere.
So let me get this straight. You upgraded your console knowing that the only improvements were gonna be the power of the console and the fact that you could use physical games on it, but you seem to not care about the power, and the physical games thing just doesn't even make sense because you said you own a bunch of physical Xbox games that you wanted to play but you just never did, and now you're upset that Game Pass is all digital, and because Game Pass is all digital, there's no reason to get a Series X even though you own physical games that you couldn't play with the Series S. This video is just all over the place.
So if any major exclusive comes out, it's probably going to come out on Game Pass. And when it comes out on Game Pass, you don't own it. Having this right here doesn't make a difference. So if you really want to experience any of those games, you might as well pick up the Series S. Now there's one limitation, the storage. That might be a problem for some people because you store a lot of games and this and that. I don't play a ton of games all at the same time. When I'm enjoying a certain type of game, I'm enjoying a certain type of game, and then I don't really jump in back and forth too much. If I'm playing a few games, usually like 2, maybe 3 games at the most, all at one time. You can probably fit that into the Xbox Series S. I didn't have, personally, I had it for the reason I didn't have a huge problem. If you play something, you just have to manage it. If you really want to buy the accessory piece, then it becomes kind of pricey. Then you might want to consider picking an Xbox Series X. But other than that, I really am starting to lean towards, I think the Xbox Series S, if you're really craving some Microsoft gaming, might be a good console for you. Otherwise, as Game Pass Ultimate keeps getting better and better, it just doesn't justify owning this. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah, forgive me if I start speeding up more parts of this video or just cut out sections. It's starting to get a little repetitive at this point. But dude, you're acting like every single person who gets a Series X is only gonna do it for the disc drive. I guarantee a lot of the people who play on Series X don't even own physical games, or at least don't buy them anymore. Digital has been the way for the last several years and will continue to be the way. And again, if you want to play these Game Pass games in their best possible form, you gotta do so on the Series X. And just a heads up, I'm gonna cut out like the next 2.5 minutes of this video because it's just him repeating himself a bunch. And we're gonna skip ahead to this part where you could apply the exact same logic to the PS5 that he's applying to the Series X. You really love to see it.
And don't forget, to really gain the benefit of everything this thing has to offer, you have to have an expensive TV that can do 4K at 120 Hz. I own one of those TVs. I have a TV that's capable of that. And yet I still feel that this is sort of unnecessary. I'm more than happy to have my PlayStation 5.
Okay, but this isn't an Xbox only argument. You can make the same argument about the PlayStation 5. If you want to take full advantage of it, you got to have a 4K 120 Hz TV. This is not a specifically Xbox problem. You're saying you'd much rather have your PS5 when the exact same problem you have here with the Xbox can be applied to the PS5. Of course, if you're buying the top-end hardware, you need the best possible monitor to take advantage of it, or TV or whatever. This is not an Xbox only only problem. But actually, guys, I'm gonna end up ending the video here. I just watched the rest of it, and it's just basically him repeating himself and saying that what the better option would be is probably getting a PS5 as your primary console, and then maybe a Series S as your secondary console. And I actually agree with him on that. I think that's a pretty good idea. Unless, of course, you want to go all out and get the Series X and the PS5. But yeah, overall, this is nowhere near the worst video we've ever watched. It's just a lot of the points this guy made were very easily disprovable. And it's clear he didn't really think through his purchases before he got them, kind of like the other dude we talked about with the Steam Deck. And again, dude, if you're watching this for whatever reason, nothing against you whatsoever, just criticizing some points I didn't agree with. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, thank you all so much for 5,000 subscribers. And remember to leave a comment to be entered into the giveaway. And kids, be sure if you're under 18 to ask your parents for permission first. I don't want to send a console to somebody's house and their parents are like, what the hell is going on? But yeah, anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will catch you all next time.